If only I'd have just gone and checked out the store every once in a while just to see what they have. Also, like, I made it last night, made it all in one night. I like it. It's so freaking cool. Chainsword, Warhammer. Okay, so this build's got a little bit of a backstory. So back around 2019 when I was making my suits, obviously I was making weapons to go with both the chaplain and the Sister of Battle. But I ran out of time to make the chainsword. So originally what the plan was we were making two Sister of Battle suits, one for my sister and one for my girlfriend. Time became an issue. We had to drop one of the suits, and the original idea was to make the suit for my sister because she always wanted me to make something for her. So I figure after a couple years of me making stuff, I threw this at her and she was like, oh, that's cool. I mean, she doesn't know anything about Warhammer, but I mean, I don't know. But the plan was each of them would have their own weapon. So one would have a bolter and then the other one had the chainsword. Once I started falling behind where I couldn't make a second suit, the chainsword was a little more complicated than the bolter, so it just kind of sat half finished. So by the time the con came around, my girlfriend dressed up as 2B from Nier Automata, but she didn't have a weapon or any kind of prop, and she wanted something, and she was like, well, if you're not finishing that chainsword, how about you paint that up real quick and I'll carry that. I mean, it's not accurate to the game or anything like that, but it was a casual suit, so it's not like it was going to hurt anything, so I gave it a quick coat of silver paint, and that's what she wore. Later on, I think later that year, we kind of went more all out on that. I don't think I have a video up on our Nier Automata stuff, but there's a lot of stuff on my Facebook page if you want to check that out. Lots of pictures and stuff that I made. Still actually have my suit from it, but it's in the corner over there. I'll post a picture right here. There we go. So finding reference material for this was a little tricky. Not so much that I couldn't find any. It was more of a case of there were so many different art styles and different blade styles that everything from like different factions in Warhammer to just different art styles in general. Even if you look at like what other cosplayers do, like none of them have this same exact chainsword. They're all different. I mean, you got different ones from basics of like civilian fighters to your freaking space marines or whatever. They all have different designs. I mean, they're mostly all generally the same, sure, but they all look different. I wasn't sure exactly which one to use, so what I had done was I figured if I couldn't find the exact thing, I'll go straight to the source, and I went and looked at like the miniatures online, tried finding exactly what their swords looked like. So I found a couple images from like the miniatures and a couple figurines, and I did my best to try and get as close to that. It does look kind of cartoony, I guess you could say, but like everything's very simple, plain, not very detailed, but I don't know, it has some kind of a charm to it because of that. So first thing I did was I gutted the entire outer shell. The only thing I wanted to use was what was left of the core, which was more or less just like a styrofoam block and a handle. I started putting the chain together. I wasn't going for any kind of accuracy to the models or anything like that. I just more or less went with what felt good to me. I think in the end they did get pretty close to what's actually accurate for the sword. Because I know, again, if you look at the any and all reference materials, some swords, the blades are real thin and small, sometimes they're real big and chunky. I don't know, so I just went with whatever felt fine for me. I mean, originally I was thinking about reusing some of the reusing that outer shell, but it was so old and worn, and with the paint already on it, I didn't know how it's gonna all hold up. Plus, the more I looked at it, the more lackluster the details on it were, and I knew I could do better and get it a lot more accurate and closer to the source reference. But the pieces I already had, the dimensions on them were already pretty good because I had tried making them dimensionally accurate to the figurine's sword. I used the original base of the sword as well as a template too, but this time around I wind it up just a little bit because I wanted to give that little heat shield on the back just a little bit more room, so it kind of stuck out some, so it looked like it was actually guarding something, you know. And then before I cut everything out, I measured everything up to make sure everything was square and even. That way when it wrapped around, everything was exactly symmetrical and nothing was kind of messed up. Then after that, I closed in all the gaps and everything. So around that time I realized that when I took the original shell apart, I realized that the core and the handle actually wasn't inside it all that deep. It was only in it like an inch maybe, but that the base of the sword was what really held in all that extra support. So I made sure that I kind of reinforced a lot of that too, to make sure it held and nothing came loose ever, especially if you're gonna swing that sword around, you know. I mean, I don't think it doesn't have any give. It's definitely, but yeah, so your core is probably up to about here, and then the actual handle is probably like up to there. And not all this is helping to hold the handle in. Yeah, from there I started working on the hand guard for the sword. I didn't try to make this super accurate. I more or less just eyeballed the whole thing. It's just two thick sheets of foam glued together. Dremeled out the edges and stuff to make it a little more smooth. The ball on the base here, it's several sheets of foam all glued together, cut all into the shape of a sphere, and then I just dremeled the crap out of it until it was as smooth as I could get. I mean, if you look at it, you can still see it's not perfect, but someone's holding it and swinging it around, it gets the general shape down. I mean, farther back I'm holding here, you definitely can't really see those lines. Kind of the old what's that cosplay rule? It's like 12-foot distance. If it looks good from 12 feet away, it looks good. Or I think I heard that once. Yeah, this was probably the first time I actually got to use a Dremel at the new house too. I stopped using it on a couple projects ago at the old house because the old house was getting very cramped and Dremels are very messy, and it became harder and harder to clean up. It was just getting everywhere. So now that we're finally in the new place and finally in the craft room again, I should be able to pull off some cleaner details on my future projects. I'm actually looking forward to that. I think I mentioned that in another video too. Eventually down the road I want to invest in like a little Dremel booth. That way it's a lot easier to clean up and it can be its own station. After that I made the vents on the sides of the handles, or on the sides of the base. I didn't record all of this, but so I started with the very inner part, you know, getting the actual shape that I wanted, and then I added the vents on the inside. I put them all together at first, and once I kind of had them figured out where I want them, I just took some painter's tape and then wrapped it the whole way around it. Took a Sharpie, drew my lines around both the inside and out, took the tape off, cut that up, and more or less had a duct tape pattern for the outer shape. So I knew what my actual shape was, cut that out, and it fit around perfect. Classic duct tape pattern. After that came the emblems. So on the suit, you know, all the emblems, the skulls, the emblems on the chest and on the bolter You have your emblems on the side of the gun. Same with the skull and the Crosium Arcanum. They were all done with foam clay molds. My last video, I actually just talked about them. I didn't do that with this one, because at the time I did this one before I was doing my purity seals, so I didn't have any foam clay on me. And two, I would have had to have mocked up a new shape for that, because I obviously didn't keep my old hot glue molds. So all I did was I just took 2 sheets of foam, glued them together, carved out the shape, dremeled them real smooth. It looks pretty good. I mean, it doesn't look perfect, but I mean, even from this far away, I think it looks fine. I mean, it gets the job done for sure. I forgot to record this part as well, but afterwards I took it outside, plasti dipped the whole thing. Weird little side note. So originally on the original version of this, I had everything painted silver, but she had wrapped this up in like some kind of like little thin fabric and then just glued it on. I didn't feel like unwrapping it and doing something better, so I kept it on there, and when I painted the whole thing in plasti dip, I just soaked the entire handle in plasti dip. What's cool though is that it absorbed all of that plasti dip, so now it holds the texture, but it's also got like a lot of grip, and the fabric's just not going to move anywhere. I didn't even end up painting it. I kind of liked the way it ended up looking. But yeah, when I was priming this entire thing with plasti dip, it was insanely cold that day and insanely windy, so I ended up I think I had to do 2 passes at this, because the first time I put it back under our back porch, and I'm like, okay, maybe this will protect it from the wind. I came back out 10 minutes later, it was on the entire drying rack was just on the floor. So I took it home, hung it up, or took it to the basement, hung it up, waited a day, cleaned it all off, and took it back out and primed it again. So at least I got a real good thick layer of prime on this before I started hand painting, which is what I did. I didn't mask anything off. I just hand painted the rest all in acrylic paint, Walmart acrylic paint. I used the same exact colors that I used for the guns and a lot of the accessories here. The same blacks, well, no blacks at all. The same reds, the same silvers. Highlighted some edges to make everything look a little worn. So yeah, if you see the corners, gave the edges of these a little more of a highlight than the rest. Definitely could go over it one more time. Maybe darken some things up here in the corners and stuff, make things pop a little bit more. I'll definitely do that before we end up taking it anywhere. Like I mentioned in my one video, I made all of this in a rush to go to Steel City Con, and not going back to that place. If you don't know why, I got a video for that. But yeah, I'm insanely happy with the results on this. I mean, I'm sure someone out there is like, that looks like crap, but to me, I like it. It's cool. And I've always wanted to make it, so maybe it's that 2-3 year wait for me to actually finally make this thing is why I'm like gushing over it so much. It's definitely not perfect. I mean, I could point out 100 different imperfections. I already mentioned the ball. Obviously, if you look at the chain, it's up against the one side. That wasn't intentional. I messed that up. Same thing too. I should have put a blade going around the turn. Maybe this should have started turning early here, because obviously if this was to come down, that's gonna smack here before it turns over. But Now I got the turn good up here, because you can see it's actually kind of wrapping around and fitting back inside. So, you know, tons of small stupid stuff like that. But yeah, I'm super happy with it. I would love to make another one too, actually. Obviously I didn't save any templates, so I'd have to start over from scratch too. Could make a different style, different faction, different art style, or whatever. Actually, you know, that leads me on to my next topic, I guess. What am I doing next? So, for the, as of right now of recording, it's middle of December, so I'll be going on probably a 2-3 week hiatus from working on this stuff. Brainstorm on ideas on what I want to do next for Sci-Fi Valley Con, which is in June. I'll be starting first thing January on my, so I'll give me like 5 months to work on something. So there'll probably be some radio silence in here until then. If you follow me on Facebook, I'll leave a description or a link in the description. That's going to be the most up-to-date place for all of my stuff. So if I'm working on something, the day of, I'm posting on it there. It takes a while to edit a video, you know, so I really won't be posting anything here unless I have something to show. Unless I do like a short little vlog video or something. Yeah. But until then, you know, I guess I'll see you in the next one.